For coming and staying.
The subject of this movie, the reason we're here, Mr. Mark Kerr. Emily Blunt. And as you have surely never seen him before, Dwayne Johnson. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you for being here.
What a movie. I've spoken with a number of you over the last month, and I feel like there are many different origin points for this movie. But Benny, I'll start with you. When and how this project came to you, and then how that evolved into you actually getting to make this movie with these people.
So Dwayne, I think it was 2019, he approached me about the idea of making this into a movie, you know? And he said, watch the documentary. And I watched the documentary, and it was just like, he's sitting right here so I can refer to him.
I'll start talking about me in the third person.
Yeah, so I was like, oh my God, this is one of the most incredible people I've ever seen. You know, he's so complicated. There's so much going on that, like, he can be this person in the ring, and then he can be so gentle and soft outside, but then also so flawed, but also so willing to try and explain and understand what he's going through. It was like, he was like a psychoanalyst and a fighter at the same time. And I just thought it was such a beautiful thing. And the fact that Dwayne wanted to tell your story told me so much about Dwayne, you know, and what he was willing to kind of explore. And then I knew that there was also just the thing that I kind of fell in love with about you. I knew that Dwayne felt exactly the same way. And it was this kind of unspoken thing that we both wanted to explore. And it just became, and then I guess COVID hits, and I wasn't sure what was gonna happen, if Dwayne was gonna go make it somewhere else, do whatever. So I found the Nautica sweater. I found this yellow Nautica sweater in a triple XL. And it wasn't exactly the same one, it had a blue stripe, but I was like, I have to, so I got it, and I wrote a handwritten letter, and I said, like, Dwayne, I don't know what's gonna happen. If I'm involved, amazing. If not, I just want to give you something that maybe you can put it on, and it'll help you become Mark, because that's something, sometimes that's helpful for me. But I wrote it, luckily it was a mistake to handwrite it, because my handwriting is very bad, and it looks like I'm a psycho. So I'm sure somebody got it and was like, for DJ safety, let's just put this aside. And so he never got it. Yeah, exactly.
By the way, the irony of it, the heartbreak of it is Benny goes through, first of all, we have an amazing meeting. I said, Benny, I have this thing called Smashing Machine. He watches it, he goes, let's make this. Let's make this together. COVID hits. He writes this beautiful, beautiful letter, and with the Nautica sweater that you guys saw in the movie. And then the heartbreak is I never got it. And so I went for years thinking, God, I had such a great meeting with Benny Safdie. I never heard from the guy again.
And I
ghosted.
And I'm thinking, I can't believe I sent him this really nice letter, and he just ignored it.
And I was finally talking to Emily when they were shooting Oppenheimer, and they spoke, and she goes, hey, were you gonna do something with Benny? I was like, yes. And she goes, did you ever get the sweater he sent you? No. In the letter he wrote, no. And I guess, you know, things happen in the time and the way that they're meant to. So here we are.
To what Benny was saying, though, Dwayne, the fact that you wanted to do this, I think said a lot about what this potential role would have meant to you, what this project would represent for you as an actor. So did you feel coming into this, even just thinking about this, that it marked Uncharted territory in some way?
100%, and that was I think the attraction to do something like this, not something like this, but to do this. And for so long, I've been a lucky guy to have had this, I think, really awesome career. I'm so grateful for, and been able to make some movies that people liked and some, not so much. But I had been waiting for something like this and been wanting to not only push myself, but then just really go for it and just be hungry and rip it open. And this is what this represented. And sometimes it's hard for you to see that. You could feel it, and sometimes, we have that little voice behind our rib cage that we gotta listen to and our instinct. But it's not always easy, I think, if you're questioning yourself, it's not always the easiest thing to know what you're capable of. Sometimes it takes people around you who know you, who love you, to say, hey, you can do this. And I believe in you, and hey, let's do it together. And for me, those people, one was Emily to say that to me, and the other one was Benny. So it all happened again in the way that it was meant to happen, at the time that it was meant to happen. But I also knew what this film represented. I've known Mark for a long time. I met Mark in the late 90s when he was coming up as the greatest fighter on the planet. And I was running around in a fanny pack and a bad haircut and wrestling. And
you looked great, by the way.
I did, right?
You look very cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wow, really? Is that right? Never mind.
Like the merry-go-round.
That's where that chemistry comes from.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks. No, I'm not. No. Anyway, look, I met Mark back then, and so to do something like this, not only did I want to tell Mark's story, and did I want to tell it with Benny, of course, who had this incredible vision right away, but also do it with one of my best friends and someone who I knew was going to push me as an actor. And also, in a way, the movie it represents a lot of things for all of us. But also, it's a love letter, I think, to the men and women out there who get knocked down and are just trying. And sometimes when you're reaching for that big brass ring and you want to go for it, and you give everything you got to go for it, it doesn't happen. And you lose, and you lose everything. In Benny's words, he wanted to make a movie where you lose it all, but you know what? It's okay. And everything is gonna be okay. And you saw that in the supermarket scene when you see Mark.
So, Emily, you, I suppose, get Dwayne involved before you yourself are involved in this movie. But to what Dwayne was saying, there's an incredible chemistry between the two of you. You've worked together before, you're very close friends. When you did sign on, what did that entail to you? Because obviously you have some really intense scenes to play together.
I mean, I was so delighted to work with Benny. I had really wanted to do something with him, and I knew that the way he worked in this very spontaneous aliveness, like that his movies have, that it would allow space to create a relationship that, was full of complexity. And I think to play someone like Dawn, who is the full weather system, is really exciting for me and challenging. And I think, Mark and Dawn were both very open with me and with DJ, with the life of their relationship. And I found it heart-wrenching, because I think they both were really striving for a happy medium, and it was so elusive for a myriad of reasons. And I think I'd never had the chance to put a relationship on screen that was very much not a movie relationship. It was really representative that someone can be your greatest love and a huge support system, and they can also be your undoing, they can be your tender spot, they can be all of those things. And it felt very true to life. And I was so thrilled to do it with my best buddy, truly my most enormous friend. And just, but watch him completely disappear, and just in this immersion was just one of the more moving experiences of my career, of my life, like watching this happen. It was such a dream.
And I just want to add, there was, in my mind, there was nobody else who could have played the part of Dawn. There's nobody else who could have played the part for Mark either, because there's something specifically with the relationship that we wanted to depict on it. I wanted the whole movie to kind of feel like an emotional reality, virtual reality, where you're there and you're feeling all these things. But I wanted a lot of the arguments to kind of feel very true to something that maybe you have had in your own lives, because when those arguments hurt, or when you really feel a certain level of love and care underneath them, and that they just had such a deep friendship that I knew that when they said something bad, it would hurt, you know. And I think that was important, because it's like I remember we got in a room together and we just kind of, I said, let's just talk about all the times we've said something and we felt embarrassed about it, and in our own relationships. And I did the same thing with Mark when we first met. I was like, I called him.
God, so this is funny for me. So Benny and I get on the phone for the first time, and it feels like he has a prepared speech. He's like, I'm Benny Safdie, and I'm gonna make this movie, this smash, and he just stops and he goes, all right, hey, listen, here's what's really going on. And he just drops all his pretense and he digs in, and, you know, me not realizing it in the moment, but in order for him to explore all these different emotions in me, he has to be emotionally honest with me too. And so it's this moment and this connection that we have where, you know, we were on the phone, I think, an hour and a half. I mean, we talked about everything under the sun that was going on directly with us. And, you know, he's just like, you know, in those moments, I could see like just the genuineness of where he wanted to take this and how he wanted to explore it and where he wanted to go emotionally. And the first part of it was for him to be emotionally honest with me so he could draw out what he needed to be able to go, hey, you know, have these conversations. And it just opened a door for me. It really did. And, you know, he had said to me, and this is one of my favorite things too, like through the process of this, he's like, you're not a prop, you're a permanent fixture. You know, just for the friendship we had developed. And it was this amazing experience for me to have, especially for him. I mean, it's just amazing to see him. You know, I say his superpower is his childlike imagination, right? And what makes it a superpower is it's infectious. Like he can go, oh, there's gonna be red, blue, green, and there's things that's gonna pop out, and by the time he's done talking, you're like, okay, where do I go? Like, I'm gonna get up and do it. And it's this amazing quality that is just brilliant to see. And, you know, and when I watched the movie for the first time, I could see him just bring out all of this. And DJ and Emily, and I mean, Emily as Dawn, wow, it was therapy for me watching it. It really was. Yeah, it was therapy because I could actually see my part in it a lot clearer.
I find it funny, but that did move me very much, very much.
Think about what he had shared that with Mark had shared, you know, I see these fights. When we were in Venice at the film festival, we're watching it for the first time, we all watched it together. Mark has seen it before on his own, and I was sitting on one side of Mark, Benny was sitting on the other, and Mark was a big guy, and our legs were touching. He was shaking the whole time,
Yeah.
especially during that fight at the end.
Yeah.
That long fight between Mark and Dawn, and I looked over, and Benny was holding his hand the whole time because Mark was just crying. But I think for you to say, I see my part in it after all these years, that says something, man, because, you know, it's like we have these fights with our loved ones, and, you know, it's a lot of times we're kind of like anchored into, no, I felt this way, and I feel like I was right. I don't know if I would have done it like that, the way she said it, but to watch it unfold and go, holy shit, I see my part in it.
I mean, I held
really
that
cool, man.
for the last like half hour of the movie. I wouldn't let it go. Because
It got weird, I know. Kept holding it.
You know, he has a nice soft hand. He had that grip. So, you know, you know, it really was honestly that it hit me like like I never expected it to hit me in that moment. You know, it was brilliant. So.
I do feel like, Mark, your review is probably the most important. How close did these guys get?
Oh God! So first time I ever saw DJ in prosthetics, and this is just so in Vancouver. It's fight week up there. They bring me up. I work with the stunt team to go over some stuff, and I at this point I've had multiple conversations with DJ over Zoom and in person, and just incredible, like digging and like in this moment, Doc, what were you thinking here? And he's looking for his nuggets. He's looking for those emotional nuggets. And I turn around in Vancouver, and he's standing behind me, and nobody told me he was going to get prosthetics and my cauliflower ear and all this other stuff, and I just couldn't stop cussing at him. I probably forearmed him 4 or 5, like, fuck you, dude, like, seriously. Like, it was me. It was my reflection. It was like, standing there, I'm like, oh my God, like, you're me. But I could see him, but he's me. And then when you add everything in, the layers of my speech pattern, my walk, my hand gestures, it literally sat me back. And when I watched it for the first time with Benny in California, it was like, I was speechless, absolutely speechless. I mean, to the point where him and I cried so much afterward, because he came in after, and so did Emily, and Emily just looked at both of us and said, "You're wet skirts, both of you." we just kept crying. I'm like, oh my God, I know, but we're connected now, so.
And the thing that, like, again, what I find, like, what was so interesting for me was to see kind of DJ and then myself just try to inhabit Mark, and what he represented, to explore our own selves, and then it was like, then it became, okay, well, if we can learn so much, let's see what we can do and translate that to an audience, And then that means you live in moments, stay, breathe in them, really understand it, to hopefully try and get at what it felt like to have to go through some of the stuff that you did.
The final fight scene, I'm referring to the fight scene between the two of you, was mentioned. I was scared watching it, and I know this is a fiction film. I mean, it has an unbelievable, very rigorous realism. So Emily, what were the conditions of filming that? And how did you find going there with, as you say, one of your best buddies?
I mean, I think we knew that scene was approaching, and you knew it was going to be a beast, and I think we'd worked. I think it was one of the last things we shot in Vancouver as well. So I think we'd had like a kind of run up to it, and everything that happens before that fight loads the gun for that fight, literally. And I think we were nervous. I get very scared before those scenes, because I think you're going to have to kind of go elsewhere with an intensity that is like how and in what way, and there's something that feels like you can't grab purchase of it before you do it, and then you start doing it and you get carried up through it. It's like a force field, partly because of the incredible environment that Benny creates, which is just, it blurs the line between reality and fiction, and we didn't see a camera. And so you guys saw it, but it's almost like that prowling kind of voyeuristic view, like you kind of shouldn't be watching it. We didn't see a light, we didn't see a lens, there was nothing technical around us, so it really was us just screaming at each other in the kitchen, which was very intense. And Benny decided to section it into pieces. We did it in 4 sections, so every time she walks away, he chose to do this beautiful thing where instead of sort of supercharging the energy into the next moment, you allow the pause to happen. You stay on him, wondering, have I gotten away with it? Is she gonna come back in? Oh fuck, she's coming back in. Like, and then her sort of deciding, should I drop it? Nope, I'm not gonna drop it. Like, it's just was so exciting to shoot it in pieces and quite economically, quite quickly. And then we were gonna do the bathroom section the next morning, but we were on such a roll that we just kept going. And that was one take in the bathroom, right?
It was one take. Yeah, and Benny has this, you know, I feel like throughout the film, and you guys know and love films, so much just like we do, there's certain things that you'll find, I think, in this film that eventually over time, because history always watches, I think that will just become these Benny Safdie signature things as you shoot. And from the music drops, to the cues, Benny has this thing with us, especially the fight scene at the end. It's very sensitive because he's an actor himself about, I know where you guys are gonna go emotionally, I know how raw it's gonna get, and if we can create this, I want it to feel like it's only happened once. And that's what happened, and we did that once. By the time we got into the gun leads into the bathroom, it was just one time. And we were spent after that, by the way, just completely exhausted.
I remember looking, like there was like one section that we spent a lot of time on, other ones went quickly. That one, just one time, because I remember watching it and just being like, that's it. You know, I saw in both their faces and in my face, living it alongside them, I know what that felt like, and you don't want to go there more than once. So I'm like, let's just be finished. Let's move on. And then everybody's like, you sure you don't want to just do one more for safety? And I'm like, why?
Very humane of you.
Very.
I was gonna ask,
And then we just kind of spent like an hour and a half just recovering from, because it's like, yeah, at some point you have to feel the stuff. You know, even though it is acting, you have to go to a place where you feel it at some point. And it was just so clear that it was just not easy for them to have those emotions, because it's a very emotionally complicated moment, you know, and yeah, I remember just being like, oh my God, because I think there was if like a stunt coordinator said to me once, if it hurts, this hurts, so if you don't need to do it again, don't do it again. I'm like, noted. And so I just took that, and I took that to the emotional side of it too. Like, if you don't need to, don't. That hurts, you know?
Well, Benny had a
I
saying.
want to share something with you guys really quickly because it's about this. I think you guys will find this really interesting. I've, you know, before this, I used to throw around 300-pound men for a living in the wrestling ring, or I'd get my ass kicked, really is what I would happen. But so I'm used to breaking physical space and holding on, of course, like Mark too as well. But when I held Emily in that scene and I grabbed her and we went immediately down to the floor, I've never in my life, told you this, Benny, right? And I've shared this with you. Just recently, she was blown away when I told her this. I've never felt anything like that in my life, to hold another human being, a woman, and the last place she wants to be is to be held. And where this kind of restraint goes to is probably ugly places, what women are, who go through that kind of trauma. It really, like, emotionally rocked me, and I'll never forget that. Like, it's that sensory feeling of holding someone who does not want to be held, and not only that, but also someone who, at that point in time, just, I don't even know if I want to be here on Earth anymore. Like, that's a whole other thing to contend with. So that's why, Benny, as Benny was saying, we took like 90 minutes to recover. Like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, it's unbelievable.
in addition to the incredible transformative work that we see you do here, Dwayne, to what we're talking about, it's a really psychological movie. It's a role that has the layers that you were talking about, Mark, of you knowing Mark, you playing this guy, you doing something you've never done before. So I'm wondering what it felt like for you just as an actor to kind of come down from that, to go to these places, especially in a scene like this, and then I would hope, feel kind of a sense of accomplishment from being able to go there.
more gratitude and, you know, aware of what we were able to accomplish. We set out to make a movie that, as Benny said very early, I just want audiences to feel this, feel it. And if we can accomplish that, great. Like, we went into this without any expectation or attachment to a reaction or a thing or anything like that. So accomplishment, yes, but gratitude for sure. And I also feel that, you know, I think for us, the fact that we were able to tell Mark and Don's story, and these are two real people, they're here with us. Mark will tell you, guy's lucky to be alive. He has an incredible story, as does Dawn. They have a beautiful son named Bryce. And you went through it, and they're still here. You know, movies like this, a lot of times, the subjects, like, they're not here anymore. And then you make the movie. But the fact that they are here and living proof that you can get knocked down and you go for it all and lose it all, but things are gonna be okay. I think that was the thing that gave us, you know, great motivation and impetus to make something.
But you are proud of yourself too, aren't you? You should be. Humble pie over here.
It's just to go back to what you were, just a little bit of what you were saying there, TJ. It's amazing because, like, for me, it was the story of Mark Kerr was the story of, like, somebody accepting who they were and accepting a new point of view on life and trying to understand themselves, you know? And that's something that I think anybody can kind of hopefully relate to, and if they can learn from that, you know, somebody being at the top and then still being able to have that. And that's, as we talked, you know, that element of kind of being able to recover from it and be in such a place where you are right now is so inspiring and just kind of awesome that I was just like, let's end with that, you know? I want you to feel good about life. You know, it's like leaving the theater, you know?
Yeah, I think it is something you feel watching this movie. We do have to leave it there and kindly ask, we do have to make a quick exit that you stay in your seats.